going to be start on counterfeiting of drugs in India, consumer and government, and law and financial service in India. I'd like to call Gauri to share her views.
Imagine having a chronic ailment that is treatable through a prescription drug, or even something that can be bought over the counter. Not hard to do, right? Now imagine that the drug you bought at a local store perhaps is a fake drug whose shape, color, size, packaging and even markings look like the real thing. But instead of containing the active ingredients that are critical to treating your condition, this drug contains harmless talcum powder or even worse, toxic materials that might kill you. These are stories that we have heard many times, from Haiti to Nicaragua to India to America, everywhere. Yet we still cringe with each new tragedy. So, what can we do to solve this problem? A very good morning to all present here. Today, in my presentation, I hope to focus on what makes India the largest producer of spurious medicines in the world, what the government can do to combat this problem, and whether we as consumers have any rights. First of all, we need to know the difference between a spurious drug, a counterfeit drug, and a substandard drug. We often use these terms interchangeably, but they do not mean the same thing. The WHO defines a counterfeit drug as a medicine which is deliberately and fraudulently mislabeled with respect to identity and source. The WHO again defines a substandard drug as a genuine medicine which has failed certain qualitative tests. These medicines are manufactured by approved manufacturers, but they do not meet the quality standards. The Drugs and Cosmetics Act, through the amendment of 1982, Section 17B, defines the term spurious. The term spurious is much more wide in scope and includes both counterfeit and substandard medicines. Now we can talk about why counterfeiters thrive in India. The Confederation of Indian Industries has correctly identified that pharmaceuticals industries are the worst affected by this counterfeiting problem. We can effectively talk about four issues that are plaguing the Indian economy today and that allow counterfeiters to thrive in our country. These are lack of enforcement of existing laws, loopholes in civil and criminal laws which need to be taken care of, corruption and political obfuscation. So we are going to tackle all these four issues one by one. The enforcement of existing laws depends on a sound legal system. Yet the Indian justice system is famously sclerotic. Cases go on for years, and as the old saying goes, justice delayed is justice denied. There are trademark laws in place in India which do not favor foreign corporations over Indian industries. But Indian industries need to be able to protect themselves from counterfeiters. There was a case, Milfet Opto Industries versus Olagon Incorporated, 2004-12 SEC 624. In this, Justice S.N. Variba upheld the judgment given in an earlier case, Cadila Healthcare Limited versus Cadila Pharmaceuticals Limited, 2001-5 SEC 73. In the latter case, it was held that in respect of medicinal products exacting judicial scrutiny is required if there is a possibility of confusion over the marks, because the potential harm will be far more dire than in the case of ordinary consumer products. The court held that courts must ensure that the interest of the consumer is in no way imperiled. The Global Intellectual Property Center, based in the United States, conducted a survey some years ago on the sale of substandard drugs in India and found that as many as 19% of the surveyed pharmacists were complicit in their trade. In November 2009, an article appeared in a leading newspaper under the headline, "Supply of Fake Drugs Grossly Overrated." It was based on a governmental claim that only 10 out of 24,000 sampled medicines were found to be spurious, a quite incredible claim. The study itself was yet to be published at the time of the paper going to print. The underlying methodology and the holistic data were unavailable, casting doubts over how impartial or robust the survey really was. The spurious medicines enter the supply and distribution chains through corrupt deals between hospital buyers and wholesale manufacturers. I will now focus on what the government needs to do and the rights of the consumers. Let us start with what we know. We know that life-saving drugs that we rely on today are the result of millions of dollars spent on research and development. And companies are investing these resources because they have faith that there are intellectual property laws in place which will protect their ideas and inventions. The enforcement of private rights, especially trademarks, must be given more support both domestically and in international fora such as the WHO with respect to the European Union. India has signed and ratified the TRIPS agreement and enacted a patent act in 1970 which needs to be amended so that the enforceability of patents is ensured. The government must lay more emphasis on R&D and ensure stringent quality checks. The consumers need to be aware. They can file for remedies even under Article 21 of the Constitution, which incorporates the right to health under right to life. But in the end, I would just like to say that all these measures can only go so far because ultimately it depends on our will and the political will of the state to put in place more laws, more stringent quality checks and awareness on part of the consumers.